We decided that we wanted to have a women's dance. And well, part of it was there were dances every month, and most of the people at the dances were men. And the men were bigger than the women, I mean, just taller. And we would go to the alternate U for these dances, and it was just packed with men. I mean, wall to wall. And so if you wanted to find another woman, you literally couldn't. You know, you'd be going through this crowd, and it was dark, and you just couldn't find anybody there. So the men decided they would give us the back room. And there was a kind of separate room that had a few kind of torn up couches and chairs, and the women had a room that men couldn't go into. But we decided what we really liked was our own dance. And we felt that the treasury, which was pitifully small, but we had a treasury from the dances, that we would have our own dance, that we wanted to have a dance for women. It was really a struggle. The men didn't want it, some of them, because they felt that we should have these united dances, and that was a political statement. And one of the things that we would often do after a GLF meeting was to go to a men's bar or a women's bar and dance together, men and women, which was really forbidden and horrifying to the people in the bar. You know, to go into a women's bar with men and dance and with guys. And now that I look back, I think that we were very rude, you know, with our ideology. And these poor people, you know, who that was the only space they had, and here we were invading with our ideology and our long hair and long beards the guys had. We all had long hair, men and women alike, and, you know, just flying around their floor in a circle. So that was what we were supposed to do, and to be androgynous. And some men, I think, feared that it was the first step towards separatism, and they didn't want to lose us, really. Often we had our own needs, so we insisted on that. And finally, we got some funding towards having this first dance at the alternate U. So we had this dance, and a lot of women came. It was a great success. And at the end of the dance, we were cleaning up. And it was the dances usually ended around 1 or 2 in the morning, usually around 2. And then you had to clean the place up because it was like a mess. And these men appeared in the door, and they were so big they kind of filled the door. And they said they were the police, and they flashed something, and they were way too big to be the police. I mean, they never could fit in a police uniform. Plus, the police don't put their guns in their belts. This is, you know, this is your other clue that you were dealing with the mafia, you know, and you don't have the real police there, because real police wear holsters, and this is kind of basic information. And they said that we were selling liquor without a license, and some of the women said we want to see the identification again, and their response was to start beating the women up. And other people went into this vast panic, and they ran into the bathrooms, and drugs of immense value, I think, were flushed down the toilet in case they were the police. And I had a job which was to alert the lawyer if something happened. Now, I had the number of Florence Kennedy, who was a black feminist lawyer, inked on the back of my hand or on my palm, because those were, you know, our iPhones back then. You used your palm and you just write it. And I ran out the back exit of the alternate U with another person, and, you know, and there was this big crack behind me, and I hoped it was the door, you know, the metal door, but I wasn't sure, and I just kept going. And I didn't know where a payphone was. We were on 6th Avenue and 14th Street, and I knew there was a payphone in front of Cookies because I'd been in it. And I thought, oh, well, you know, so I went down the street, and I went into the payphone, and I called Flo Kennedy, and she said, well, I'm going to call the police, because if these guys are the police, more police won't matter. And I'm also going to call the media, because when the press came, they would save your rear end. So as my bad luck would have it, there were two guys outside the booth who had just been thrown out of cookies because men were not allowed in unless they were friends of the goons. And what happened was they said I'd been in cookies. And I said, no, I hadn't been in cookies. And they said, yes, you were. And I said, no, I wasn't, you know. And so finally they said, what are you doing in a phone booth at this hour of the morning in front of cookies? And I said, I'm from the telephone company. I'm fixing this phone. It's broken. And I pulled the receiver right out of the phone. And I said, see, it's broken. And I was going to use it as a weapon if I had to. I had been studying karate. But they were so drunk, they believed this story. I mean, I looked not at all like someone from the phone company. I had no uniform. It was winter, so I had, I don't even think I had a coat on because I just took off, And so they left me, which was good. And by the time I got there, the mob had left. The real police came. They said no police had ever come. And that was the first dance. And I guess people today don't realize that you had to risk your life in a way just to organize a lesbian dance, that it really wasn't an easy thing.